I would say to them, it's a card game. It's a very interesting game. It's a social game. It's a game that you have to risk money, and it's a game that, once you learn it, it's good fun, and also it's very interesting, and also you meet a lot of different people. But it's a game that there is skill to it, and if you're interested in playing a game, rather than say a game of roulette or whatever it is that you're interested in playing, that there's a skill to it that you want to learn and you're interested in learning, and also have a social aspect to it, then and you do have control over your income or your money, then play it. John Ioannou. A lot of people call me John I or Johnny I, because Ioannou is a very hard name to pronounce. So yeah, I played poker years ago when I was younger, basically with family at Christmas. We used to have a little poker game. I was young, when I was about 15, a long time ago. We used to play 5-card stud those days, and it was for small money, pennies, 5 pences, and things like that. And I used to enjoy it. And as I got older, we used to get together with a few friends and play the same game. I don't know if you've played 5-card stud. It's different from Hold'em, where it's the game they play in the Cincinnati Kid. You've got one card down, and then you have a card facing up, and then another card facing up, and then there's betting rounds. So therefore, it's very important to see the cards that are out and remember the cards that are out. The other players' cards before they fold them. And it was mainly strip deck. Basically, the 6, 5, 4, 3 deuces were not in the deck, so it was 7 and up. That's what they call strip deck. And then one day we went to Russell Square just to change. We used to go to Bayswater mainly. We went to Russell Square, Stackis it was called then. It's a gala now. I kept seeing these guys coming up from downstairs. There was a room downstairs, and I was curious to where they were coming and going from. So I went down, had a look, and there was all these people sitting around all these round tables with coloured chips. It was like red, blue, yellow chips. And I started watching, and I said, "What's going on here, man?" It says, "Well, it's a Texas Hold'em £10 beginners tournament, mate, every Friday." And there was cash games going on, but I was more interested in what this final was. They ended up doing a 3-way deal, 3-way chop. So I thought, right, next Friday, I'm coming here to play this. You're talking about 2001, 2000, something like that. I went back the following Friday on my own. It started, I think, 7 o'clock. So I went downstairs, and everyone, was turning up bit by bit. And I was getting excited, but nervous as well, because I've never played this game before. I never knew anybody. Yeah. And everyone's talking about, I could hear them, like, "Oh yeah, I had ace king, and he had ace queen, and he hit a queen," and all poker talk, and it was quite exciting, And all of a sudden, the manager, Roy Houghton, who is a legend of poker, started calling out people's names and where they were sitting. No microphone, and he had a loud voice, So it was like this, and he carried on like this. And then after about a few names that he called out, I thought to myself, how's he going to know my name? I didn't know you had to register. I didn't register. I was standing there waiting, and I thought, anyway, by the end, I went up to him. He called all the people's names. I said, "Listen, I haven't registered, mate. Can I still get into the tournament?" He said to me, "Sorry, no, it's full up." The following week, I made sure I registered for this tournament. I came back, I registered for the tournament. I was one of the first ones to be knocked out. I was disappointed, because whenever you get knocked out of a tournament, you're disappointed. The only person who's not disappointed is the winner. And then the following week, I got really lucky and I won it. I won £600. And I was like, really, really, I was like up in the air. I was like really happy. And I thought I was the bee's knees, I thought. So this was my learning process of playing poker. I started off there playing in the dungeon. I learned to become very good at limit poker because this is the cash game that I was playing. In London, the Vic was the only other place. Yeah, there was no poker clubs. The other place was Luton. You had to travel to Luton or Brighton, or private games. Apparently, there were private games. Occasionally, what I did, I went to the Vic and played. They had a £10 tournament, I think, on a Sunday, so I'd play there. But mainly, I played at Russell Square. Friday night was like, that's it. Then instead of limit hold'em, he introduced a half pot limit hold'em for the beginners. Half pot limit, yeah. So basically, pot limit before the flop, half pot limit after the flop. So therefore, there's the pot. Let's say the pot. We've seen a flop. There's £20 in the pot. You can only bet half the pot. They decided that they were going to close the card room. The dungeon was going to close, and there was a group of us that used to meet up and have little private games that became friends. A site called the Gutshot Poker Collective. And you just joined up and became one of the members. And there was a forum, and people used to talk about the home game they played and things like that. You became a member. You had they gave you a profile, gave you a nickname. There was a community now. We had this website. They arranged twice a week a game in a pub. And twice a week, it started from like 30 players playing a £20 rebuy, then a little cash game, to like 50, 60 players. There's a gap in the market for a club to have poker. So, and I would help out. If they went on holiday or whatever, sometimes they asked me to run it on my own. Yeah. And I was just a player. I used to run the tournament and play it, right? So I used to play it, run the cash game, play it, while all this, I was doing it all at the same time. And they decided to make it a business, and they approached Roy, who was the experienced guy from Russell Square, and me to come and work for them. New club, new adventure, and we didn't know if it was going to work or not. We started the club, and before you know it, it was very popular. People started coming, youngsters that had never been to casinos before. A lot of people that had never been to casinos before came and started playing poker at our club. People that were introduced from online poker started coming to play the club or seen poker on the television. And our Tuesday night beginners night was every week 120 people. When you do your table cards or your seat cards, we already had 120, boom, we knew we were going to hit 100. We didn't have to worry about breaking a table because we never had enough runners. It was 120 people. Poker rooms, poker clubs are friendly in general. Remember, poker is even though you sit down and you play, against, let's say I would sit against you, it's a social thing, but I want to beat you in poker. You tend to talk to people, it's a social thing. And we were just poker. We was not roulette. We was not blackjack. So people came there and they were novices, but because they played on a regular basis, they became better and better. Introduced a lot of very good players to the poker industry through these beginners tournaments. A lot of big poker players started there. Roland the Wolf, he started playing £5 beginners tournaments at our club. Top player, became a world-class player. James Aikenhead, these sort of people. Any tournament that you see now, final tables, a lot of them used to play at my club. I think what it was, we were all poker people. We loved poker. And I remember when they asked me to come and work at the club before the club opened, one of the main things that Derek said to me was, I said, why have you asked me to come and work for you? You know, he said, because I could see that you love poker. It just comes out of you, you know. So therefore, all the people that worked for us, the majority of them, they loved poker, they played poker. And when you love something that you do, it rubs off onto other people. Yeah, it's very rare you get a job where you love your job, and it's special when that happens. And remember, there was no other place like it. It wasn't a casino. It was a club atmosphere. It was friendly. The dealers were friendly. The staff were friendly. The waitresses were friendly. It was a great adventure, really. You know, it was really, really good. But so many people came through those doors and had a good time there. You know, one thing I do know is that the quality of player that we had at the club, from what people tell me still, was of a very good quality, especially in tournaments. You know, anybody that played tournaments at our club, you know, for example, the £100 on a Saturday night, would go somewhere and you know, their quality was a lot better than an average of somebody else's quality, say. But is it harder? I don't really know. I would imagine, like I said, you have to make your choice. You know, you sit at a table, look around, and if you know the people there, then you can judge whether the game's harder or not. I've heard that the games are harder now from other people that did the circuit, as you say, a few years back. They tell me that it is harder, yeah. You create a lot of friends as well through poker, and through the punters, through the staff. It was a unique atmosphere. You know, it was a good time. There was a lot of sadness as well and bad times, but in general, it was a very good time. At our club, they didn't have to play poker. They would socialise there, have something to eat there, and then they didn't necessarily play, but their friends might play, or they would meet there and then maybe go somewhere else, you know, or after going somewhere, playing somewhere or eating somewhere, they would come back there. It was like a central point where people met, socialised. Now, you don't really get that now. I think people are a little bit more, even though they go with their friends, a little bit more independent, I can see. You know, they go in maybe from casino to casino, but they don't really tend to stay there to have a few drinks or have a meal and hang around all night. Some of them do, but not as much as we did in those days. Listen, don't get me wrong. You know, like now, I'm playing poker. That's what I do. I don't do anything else at the moment until something comes along, maybe. That's the decision I made when the club closed a year and a half ago. I said, I need a break. I'm just going to play. I'm just going to try and survive on playing. I need a break. It was stressful. You know, running the club for 8 years is stressful. Dealing with people is stressful. You know, your staff, your customers. It's just stressful. And it was like the night time. It was like throughout the night to the morning, your sleeping pattern changes. You get burnt out. But I still socialise around the table. There's times when I'm quiet around the table for 2 hours, but there's times it depends who's there. You know, you can have a joke with someone. But it's different from when it was at our club. At our club, I think people had more fun regarding poker. So many highlights. We held a tournament there. I forgot what it's called now. It was on behalf of somebody else, and Matt Savage came over to TD it. To me, Matt Savage is the best tournament director in the world. I've met him because he came over one year to do the World Poker Exchange, and they asked us to supply dealers for them. So I met him there, and he and a guy called Dave Lamb were running the tournament, and they were the ones who invented the Tournament Directors Association rules, the TDA rules. Them two and another 2 people. So it was interesting to talk to these people and kept in touch with them through emails and talk about rulings, because we always talked about rulings at the club amongst the staff, discussed rulings, and I was the first, as far as I'm aware, first person to introduce the TDA rules at our club. Somebody bought them back from the World Series of Poker, and we introduced the TDA rules, which at the time were only like 30 rules at the time. So, you know, and then I met him again, Matt Savage, in Monte Carlo when I played in Monte Carlo. I won a seat to play Monte Carlo. He was the TD there. So, you know, lots of highlights. One evening, Chris Moneymaker, Greg Raymer, and Joe Hatcham, who were sponsored by PokerStars at the time, they were the last 3 World Series of Poker winners. They came to the club. We were all waiting for them to come. They arranged for them to come to the club, and we arranged a 3-table tournament, and we were going to have one on each table, and you had to draw your name out of a hat to see if you could be played on these tables. So it was, the whole club was buzzing. You know, they all wanted to pay. I think it was only like a £20. It was a small thing. So when their names, people's names were being picked out, they were like, they were loved it, because you're seeing people like a footballer, say, you know, your favourite footballer may be coming into the club and playing with them. It was the great buzz. The differences that have happened in the last 5-10 years. Well, when we started, you know, like I said, it was only the Vic, and then we opened. And then when we opened, it gave the opportunity to other people to think, oh, hello, you know, we'll do this. So other clubs opened. Poker is, again, completely different. You know, you as soon as you sit down and you dealt 2 cards, you have a decision to make. Do I want to play this hand? More control. I'm not saying everybody has. Everybody's different. There's a different, you know, there's a different skill. You have to have a different mentality. In all gambling you do, you have to have a bankroll management. Whatever you do, you have to have control. If you don't have control, even in poker, then it's no good. So I've seen all these things through me gambling, through being a manager and watching people gamble more than what they should, that they can afford, because they want to be part of the scene. I would sit them down. I had people's wives ringing me up and saying that my husband, I know he's there, he's doing this and doing that. So I had to sit these people down on a one-on-one, because to me, I don't care whether he comes or he doesn't come at the end of the day. The club will function, and we take a little bit of the pot. I don't want you or him to do their money. So there is more control in poker, but you have to have that within yourself, and you have to learn that sometimes. Not everybody's got that. Bankroll management is a big factor. Knowing when to get up. But the biggest thing that I think that people don't talk about or underestimate is the temperament of a person, meaning taking a bad beat or losing a big pot and then walking away and just shrugging your shoulders and come back the next time playing the same, you know, playing even. One, there's always luck in everything that you do, in all walks of life, not just gambling. So you need luck. You need to be able to understand card reading skills, what's going on with the game that you're playing. You need to understand that I can't sit down. Let's say I've got a 5,000 bankroll. You can't sit down with your whole bankroll and then one day do it. You're not in the game anymore. You know, you have to have bankroll management. You need to, I prefer live poker than online. I like to see the people I'm playing with. I get a better feel from it. That's something that I feel that I'm pretty good at in comparison to online. To me, online, you're basically a robot. At the end of the day, you're playing, there's no reads, there's no feel. It's different when you're playing one table, you're playing against this guy, you've played against him before, you know what sort of a player he is, what he's capable of, what he's not capable of. Actually, when you're playing poker, there's a lot of things that go through your head to make certain decisions. It's not just, oh, shall I call, or shall I fold, or shall I raise? A lot of things go through your head, or they should go through your head. You should always think that there's more to learn, and there is. The person who says, I've learnt it all, hasn't. Okay, at the end of the day, I mean, obviously you're saying at the end of the day, you know, if you don't win, it's impossible to say that, because how do you know? I mean, I know players that have been playing for years and they're still playing, and they make a profit year in, year out. Will they one day stop because they're not making a profit? I don't know. But up to now, they've been doing it for like quite a long time. And again, that's proof of the pudding that you can win if you have all these things going for you. A lot of people will lose, and there's people that make good money out of it. So will it end for all of them? I doubt it. But as long as there's a game and they know, for example, what's that saying? Somebody said, oh, such and such, Loris, he's the 10th best player in the world. But you know his biggest mistake? He plays against the 9 best players in the world. I don't view myself as a professional poker player, as maybe some people do. And also I don't view that maybe I'm going to do this forever. You know, at the moment I'm doing it because I have to. And it suits what I'm doing at the moment. It suits what's going on in my life at the moment. And do I want to work in the industry, that industry again? Do I want to work from 7 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning? No, I don't. The availability of poker now from when I played years ago, you can go and play any time you want. There's always a game somewhere. So, you know, there's people that come once a week, there's people that come once a month, there's people that come 7 days a week. You've got a wide variety of people. But yeah, people do. I mean, when I first started playing, I like a lot of things, I get really immersed in it because I want to learn about it, and it's constantly on my head. You know, I wanted to be good at poker because I liked it and I felt that I could. So I read everything I could, and it was always on my head. It affected my relationship with my wife. And we compromised. I said to her, look, I realise, yeah, you know, maybe, you know, poker is too much. I'm doing too much, you know, thinking and reading and playing or whatever it was. So I said, look, I don't want to give up poker. I love poker. It's changed my life, you know, and I think it's changed my life for the better. I still want to play poker, but we had a compromise that I would do it less, say. So over the years, I've you know, you learn, you get older, you get wiser, and you know, you tend to value different things in your life. You know, your family. You think, you know, you want to spend more time with them. So this is why I say now, I like to play during the day. I like to treat it as a job in the sense that I go during the day and I come back in the late evening. If you're single, it's different, you know. But then again, even when you're single, you've got other things, you know, you maybe have studies, you've got a job, you know, whatever. It's everything in moderation, they say. I think the way it is now in London, I think competition is good for the player. You know, it's good for the casinos in a roundabout way because they need to up their game all the time. But where it's going to go in 5-10 years, I'm not sure. I don't think it. I think we had a poker boom. I think poker's still doing well. I think poker will always be there. I think with the gaming board, they just didn't like people like us because we never had a casino license. So the casinos pressurized them to come after us because it was competition, which is understandable. It's a business. But what I think they should have done is create a soft gaming license or poker license, a special poker license for clubs to open a club, a poker club, but be governed by or controlled by the gaming commission. If you had a poker license and said, right, we're going to allow a poker club in a certain area of London, like they do here. I mean, you can't get a casino license in, say, Barnet. It has to be in Westminster or whatever it is. Yeah, and have poker licenses where you had one in Barnet, and you applied and you were regulated, then people want to play poker. They just want to play in a place like-minded people. And I think that's where the Gaming Commission really maybe missed a little trick there for the poker player. I think that what the biggest change I've noticed in London is the fact that there's less places now to play tournaments. You go to certain casinos, right, and the poker player is not treated the same as a roulette player. He's a different. I'm sure they're categorized differently upstairs. For example, a poker player, he could get barred just like that. Not a problem. You know, if I was rude, for example, to a dealer or a staff member, they could bar me just like that. But if I was a big blackjack player, I've heard of stories hitting a croupier, slapping him. And what did they do? They changed the croupier because he was a big punter. Now, if that was a poker player slapping a dealer, he'd be barred. Yeah, I played like 5 card. I then got introduced to Hold'em, and Omaha was around then and is around now. But even back then, it was quoted as being the game of the future, and even now they're calling it the game of the future, Omaha. But it's still never really kicked off. I don't think it's for television. I don't think it's popular on television. It's very hard to follow, and I think with Hold'em, it's more simpler game to play. With Omaha, I think the better players in the long run win. Yeah, they win on a regular basis in the long run. I think you need a bigger bankroll than say you would with Hold'em, and have to accept that. I think people, why do they play Omaha? Why do they play 4, 5, 6 card Omaha? Why do they play dealer's choice, triple? When we were at the club, it had triple flop Omaha and things like this, because they get bored, and these new games start to feel that occupy their brain more. What happens is people tend to get fed up playing Hold'em because there's a lot of folding going on. You're not involved in the game as much as, say, with Omaha, and the same with the dealer's choice games. There's more involvement, so you're playing more. You're probably going to play more hands. A lot of people find reasons to play. There's 4 cards, or 5 card Omaha, more combinations to play. So now they're going to see a flop a lot of the time. Well, with speed, like you just said, speed poker or heads up poker, again, is going back to what I said. They're involved. Speed poker is like you're playing on one table and playing on, all of a sudden you're playing on another hand straight away. So therefore the involvement is there all the time. So you're keeping the player involved all the time. You can't do that in a casino. You haven't got that. So will there be another variant of poker to take over Texas Hold'em? I can't see it happening for the time being. I'd be very surprised, because Texas Hold'em is great for cash and great for tournaments. I would say that if you're thinking about Europe, what have we got? Well, you can go to Barcelona and play. You can go to France and play. I don't think they have as many poker rooms or poker casinos as we have in London. You can go to Dusk Till Dawn, which is Nottingham. Great venue. I went there once. Fantastic venue. Like Asper's, they've got a big poker room. It's a big poker room. Victoria's made their poker room a lot bigger, so they've gradually increased, as I would imagine the demand is there. So in 10 years' time, I can't see Hold'em or poker stopping. It will always be there. And when you talk about the future of poker, all you have to do is look at a poker table or a few poker tables and look at the age groups. It goes from 18 to whatever age. That means as long as you keep having young people coming into the game, they'll always play poker. They might not play like every week or whatever, but they'll always want to play one day, My young son, Luke, he's now 25. He was 17, and it was going to be his 18th birthday. What do you want to do on your 18th birthday? It's a big birthday. Do you want to go out? You want to have a party with friends? What would you like to do? He said to me, I want to come and play a tournament at the club. And I said to him, but look, you can do that anytime. You can come and play another time, you know, anytime if you want to. He said, no, I want to come and play poker at the club. I want to play a tournament at the club. That's what I want. And then we can have a meal, you know, another time at the like a family meal. So that's what he did. He came and played a tournament. He made the final table. I think he came 5th or something like that. And I was proud of him that he came 5th, and he was proud. I took a photo, you know, photos of him. And that's something that I will always remember, and he will always remember.